Okay, we've got the Trump interview now. We're going to go to some of these important clips. What a disaster. What a disaster. And it seems every time Trump does these exclusive Fox News interviews, whether it's Hannity or now Ingraham, it always bites him. I don't know why he continues to do it. Unless he's being told to do it, I don't know. But it bites him in the ass every time. But this Ingraham one might be the worst yet. This Ingraham one, you could say, was the worst he's done. That's how bad it is. And how much have I been warning about this? How much have I been warning that telling people the economy is good is killing us? It's not true, and you're insulting people when you say it. So I don't know why Trump continues to say this. But here he goes again. He just can't help himself.
The economy was listed as a top concern. I know you know this, for voters in New Jersey, New York, Virginia. I know you've been all over the affordability issue today and for the last several months. Eggs, gas, dinner costs for Thanksgiving way down. But other things, as you noted, have gone up. Beef, coffee, auto repairs. Is this a voter perception issue of the economy, or is there more that needs to be done by Republicans on Capitol Hill, or done in terms of policy?
More than anything else, it's a con job by the Democrats. They're saying, they just have to say, you know, they put out something, say today costs are up. They feed it to the anchors of ABC, CBS, and NBC, and a lot of other, and, you know, CNN, and et cetera. And it's like a standard. I'll never forget, they had used a word like manufactured. Do you remember the word manufactured? It's a manufactured economy. Nobody uses that word. Every anchor broke the manufactured. They do exactly what they say. It's such a rigged system. So are you ready? Costs are way down. Gasoline is going to be hitting $2 pretty soon, or around $2. Gasoline is at $2.70 now, and it was at $4.50 under Biden, under Sleepy Joe. When gasoline comes down, when energy comes down, and everybody agrees energy's down, we're drill, you know, drill, baby, drill.
Everybody agrees. Do you agree? Do you agree energy is down? I don't. My energy bills have not gone down. My price at the pump has gone down a little bit, a small amount, nothing significant though. So again, who is he talking to? Who says, oh, everybody agrees energy costs are down? Everybody agrees that the affordability crisis is over. Who? Who is everybody? Who is telling you this, President? Whoever is telling you this garbage is lying to you.
We're going like wild. We produce more gasoline, oil and gas in the last month than we ever have before, by far. And we're going to also end up filling up the national strategic.
Do you believe that, by the way? I don't know. I'm not saying reports of that could be true. I'm not hearing about it. And I do remember in Trump's first term, when we did do the drill, baby, drill, and we did do the new pipelines, and we did get the oil industry back up and humming, I remember that was a big story. And we heard from the rig workers. We heard from the people in the oil fields. It was a huge boom. People were getting hired for jobs, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, full benefits. It was huge in Texas. It was a boom in Texas. So we actually heard about that. That actually did happen in the first term. I'm not hearing about that. I'm not hearing a peep about that. Now, that doesn't mean it's not happening, but there's a case that if it was happening, we'd hear about it because we did in the first term. So why aren't I hearing about it?
Reserves, which were taken out by Biden in order to try and win an election, didn't work out too well. They tapped in. That's supposed to be for war, for national emergency, not to get.
So are you saying that voters are misperceiving how they feel, or?
So when I took over, you remember?
Because you said Biden did that too, because he was saying things were great, things weren't great.
It's synonymous, Biden and Kamala, you know, because you didn't know who the hell was campaigning. I mean, it got to a point. So I was up by 20 points on Biden or some crazy number. And they
now he's just flopping around, folks. He doesn't have the answers. He can't blame Biden and Harris. This is bad. And it's not even that it's like Ingraham set him up for failure. These are legitimate questions. But he's flopping around. It's not working.
He said, all right, let's get him out. We'll put a new one. This never happened to anybody. All of a sudden, I have somebody new. And they had the 6-week honeymoon, which was standard in the world of politics. You get a little honeymoon. And she had her little honeymoon, but then eventually people got to know her, too. And then they had the 60.
Yeah, we don't care. We don't care about Kamala Harris. What are you even talking about? Why are you talking about Kamala Harris? We're talking about the economy that you claim is great that's not great. What are you talking about, Harris? What are you talking about, Biden? Oh, you think Americans are being misled by their own eyes? You think Americans are being misled by their own bank account, their own budget, their own price at the pump and the grocery store? This is ridiculous, President Trump. You're insulting the American people now. More on the economy from President Trump.
Somebody
Then
that's
why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that?
I don't know that they are saying. I think polls are fake. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We will have
greatest economy we've ever had. That's why we're doing 50-year home mortgages. That's why we're doing $2,000 stimulus checks. That's why we're renegotiating trade because the deficit is so bad. Because it's the greatest economy ever. I mean, this is an embarrassment, President Trump. What is going on?
over $20 trillion come into our economy, and it's largely because of my election, but it's also largely because of...
By the way, we're finding out most of these numbers aren't even real, folks.
Of tariffs. Even somebody that's...
So he says, oh, the tariffs, which is hanging in the balance at the Supreme Court, so that might not pan out. So, no, you can't point to the tariffs. He talks about the investments that all these companies said that they would make. Well, guess what? Turns out they didn't have the money. Turns out they don't even have the money, folks. So this $20 trillion number that he keeps pointing out, it might not even exist. So the tariffs might not exist. All these deals, people said, oh, we're investing in America. Turns out, folks, they don't have the money. And let me tell you what else is going to happen. If these tariffs fail, and the companies that might have the money and might have the desire to come back, if these tariffs fail and corporate taxes are not cut, then they are not coming. They're not coming. And that 20 trillion is going to quickly dwindle down to 1 trillion to 0 trillion. That's how this is going to go. And I guess he just figures that, and maybe I understand the mindset. I guess Trump just figures whatever I say, my people will believe. Whatever slop I put on the plate, my followers will eat. Yeah, there's definitely a Trump cult out there. Yeah, there's definitely whatever's left of MAGA is just brainless zombie land. So, okay, I can kind of get why Trump might think that, hey, I can just say and do whatever I want. These mindless zombie MAGA cultists are going to follow me anyway, so whatever, who cares? But Trump, this is where you're mismeasuring things. That MAGA cult, that mindless zombie cult, whatever is left of it, is tiny. It's tiny, Mr. President. And there ain't a single politician, including yourself, that could ever win an election with whatever is left of this MAGA coalition. And it's all going the wrong direction. So you can sit here and say, greatest economy, greatest economy. People don't believe it because it's not true. And yes, if you think the inflation of your ego or the inflation of your status because of the MAGA cult. Oh, yes, President. Oh, greatest economy ever. Oh, he's so great. Bah. If you really think that that'll fill you up to keep you above water with your ratings, you're about to learn the hard way. It ain't working. It ain't working. But somebody's gatekeeping all of this information from Trump. It's pretty clear. This one really pissed people off.
Folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States. We have about 350,000 Chinese. One point during COVID, you were going to, push to, get them out, but that was pulled back. You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them, and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have, China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans
You would have the
of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges.
Now, a couple things to consider. One, when he talks about the HBCUs, remember, Trump signed a bill and had a funding agenda in his first administration to make sure that those HBCUs were funded for at least another decade. So what happened to that? So did that not happen? Was that a lie? Did he forget about that? Is Trump now trying to tie in the collapse of college universities and say, oh, we can't do it because of the poor black colleges? What is he even talking about here? Now, we'll get into the larger issue of should the colleges collapse or not, but specifically on that, Trump, do you forget you signed a policy to fund them for a decade? So did that not happen? Was that a lie? Did you forget about that? Or are you just tying this whole thing into the HBCUs as some weird virtue signal?
And universities.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have, I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, let's pause it right there because I've got a clip dedicated to this coming up. This is such a mismeasurement from Trump that I can't even understand it, except that I think I know what happened here. And I'm not the only one theorizing this. But here's how I think this went down. I think this is all about the TikTok deal. That's what I think. And when you understand how Trump negotiates with leverage, it makes sense. But I think this was about the TikTok deal. And I think Trump talked to the Chinese and, Trump obviously working on behalf of Israel wanted the transfer of TikTok from the Chinese to the Israelis so that they could control the speech there. The Chinese control the speech there too. So this isn't some endorsement of China running social media. Let's be clear. China controls speech on social media too. But China controls it in a different way than Israel would. And Israel was getting crushed on TikTok. Just crushed. So Trump, who works on behalf of Israel, cut a deal with China and said, all right, look, I'll allow you to continue to send your college students to America. I'll let you continue to send your college students to America, which will include spies, no doubt. So I'll let you continue to send 600,000 Chinese to American universities every year. I'll let that continue, but you're going to make the TikTok deal so that Israel can control speech on there. You're going to make the TikTok deal so that Israel can censor speech on TikTok to make sure that people can't see what they're up to in the Gaza Strip. And that's the deal. That's the deal that got cut. So Trump has to fulfill his side of the deal. Trump has to fulfill his part of the bargain, which is China gets to continue to send hundreds of thousands of students to America, and Israel gets to take control of TikTok. And you know who loses in that negotiation? America. America loses, Israel wins. And I'm not trying to get back into this right now because I've got more coming up. We already addressed it. But this is the issue, folks. This is why it's such a big issue. Everybody sees it. Trump has sacrificed America first, and Trump has leveraged America first politics to negotiate on behalf of Israel's interests. And I believe that's what this deal was. I believe Trump cut the deal to let the Chinese continue to send hundreds of thousands of students to the U.S., bail out the college system to do it so that he could negotiate a deal with China to sell off TikTok so that Israel could control the content on there. And I don't think that's too far-fetched of a conspiracy theory at all, quite frankly. And by the way, just to do a little added coverage here, Laura Loomer says, we love Trump. Yes, we know. But we can all agree we need less Chinese and less Muslims in America. Now, can you imagine if somebody said that about Jews? Just saying. Yeah. You'd probably be in prison the rest of your life, and the DOJ would be knocking at your door. But you're allowed to say that about anybody else. She then goes on. Most of the Chinese students are spies. Okay. Tell me you never went to college. I don't know. Did Laura ever go to college? Tell me you never went to college. Tell me that you don't know any foreign students. You've never met a foreign student. You've never met a foreign exchange student. You've never met a Chinese person. Because that's what you just told me. Most of the students are spies. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound? You're totally ignorant, and you don't even care. You don't even care how ignorant you are. You just say this crap. I'm somebody that actually has been to a university. I'm somebody that actually has met foreign exchange students. I'm somebody that actually has met foreign students, specifically Chinese students. And I will tell you, no, most of them are not spies. Are there spies? Absolutely. 100% there are spies. Hundreds, maybe thousands. 300,000 Chinese spies are not coming to America going to college every year. That is ridiculous. And if you ever met a Chinese foreign student, or you ever met a Chinese foreign national who came here to study, you would know that. But clearly you haven't. And so you say stupid, ignorant stuff like this. It's ridiculous. So let's get back into the second part of that clip about the French and the Chinese.
I think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French where we get taxed very unfairly on our technology with, you
So the French are no better than the Chinese.
know, they put 25% taxes on American products. Historically, black colleges and
You know, there might be something else about that French deal. I don't know. I think that that attack on the French is coming from something else. I don't know what. I don't know what it is, but that to pretend like the French and the Chinese are the same geopolitically for U.S. foreign relations. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just, this stuff is ridiculous, folks. This stuff is ridiculous. But hey, he said it. He said it. The conversation on China went on. Here's what Trump said next.
A new detailed report on CNN, of all places, documents China's expansion of 60% of its missile facilities. It's staggering, bigger than anyone had ever thought, more robust growth. And over the weekend, the new Japanese prime minister, who I know you like a lot, Kaiichi, called the Taiwan situation extremely severe in its phase, and that they may consider any move on Taiwan by China to be a national survival crisis for Japan. Now, that gets better, a Chinese diplomat today said in a social media post that she, the Prime Minister of Japan, should be beheaded for her comments. These are not our friends, sir, are they, in China?
Well, a lot of our allies aren't our friends either, Laura. Our allies took advantage of us on trade more than China did.
Now, this is actually the best part of the interview, and he's 100% right. I want to play this again. This is the best part of the interview right here. And this is why we're America first, and this is why it's becoming America only. Because of this exact thing right here. And this is not all President Trump's fault. No, in fact, it's probably 0% President Trump's fault. This is the fault of all the past politicians the past Congresses, the past White House administrations. This is their fault. They're the ones that sold us out to foreign interests. They're the ones that sold our economy out. They're the ones that did the bad trade deals, not President Trump. Not President Trump. So this was really probably the best part for him of the interview, was just telling it like it is right here. And I think this extends, folks. Who are our allies? Do we have any allies, really? Or do we just have leeches? Because it sounds to me like we just have leeches.
A lot of our allies aren't our friends either, Laura. Our allies took advantage of us on trade more than China did. And China took big advantage. I mean, we built, because
we built their military.
We built their military. We built their whole thing.
Yeah, well, China's not the only one that you could make that claim with, obviously. So I would say that was probably the only part of the interview, even though it takes a little bit of a turn at the end. That was the only part of the interview where it's like, yes, President Trump, now you're highlighting a real issue. Then we got into the 50-year mortgages. Yikes. Yikes. And this part of it was a disaster.
Housing costs are still out of reach. And another thing that your administration is trying to tackle, many Americans, the average age of first-time home buyers are now up to age 40, which is sad. The country you and I grew up in.
I inherited that. Look, you have to understand.
Right, but let me get to the question, though, because your housing director has proposed something that has enraged your MAGA friends, which is this 50-year mortgage idea. So a significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans to own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is you pay something less from 30. That some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. But the problem was that Biden did this. He increased the interest rates. And I have a lousy Fed person who's going to be gone in a few months.
So did he even know? He says 40, 50. How much is he even paying attention? And I mean, I'm not even mad at that because he's got so much going on. But it's just like this was a big deal. And for him not to be prepared to answer that question, it's just the whole thing is coming off the rails, man. The whole thing is coming off the rails. Actually, it's already off the rails and crashed and burned, if we're being honest. He was asked about the H-1Bs.
Talents, and Republicans have to talk about it.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say.
So tell me, President Trump, then why are we bailing out the colleges? If the colleges aren't preparing Americans for the real world, then why are we bailing out the colleges? Now, this is aside from the insult that you just hurled at the working class Americans. So aside from the just blatant insult that you just threw to all Americans, that they're not good enough and they're not talented. So aside from that egregious offense, if the universities are not preparing Americans for the real world, then why are you bailing them out? Of course, we know the answer is so that Israel could take control of TikTok. But you have to think, folks. You have to think logically. You have to think critically. You have to connect these dots when things don't make sense. You have to find a way to make sense of them. So there's your perfect example right there. Oh, Americans aren't talented. They're not prepared for the jobs. Well, isn't that what college is for? And if the college isn't preparing them for the jobs, then Americans shouldn't want to go to college. And then the colleges should have to adapt and either lower their costs or change their curriculum. Instead, you're going to bail them out with Chinese money and then tell Americans they're just not good enough. Sorry. What an absolute disgusting failure this was. And I don't even know if I should say this, but you know what? There's Laura Ingraham is like 4'10", Okay? Laura Ingraham is about 4'10". And the only reason why I say that is this is our president. This is supposed to be the most powerful man in the world. This is the guy that we elected, our strong man, to get up here and save the country. And I'm sorry, but a 4'10" woman just made you look like a fool. You just got played as a fool by a 4'10" woman caked in makeup on Fox News, President Trump. That's not the leader I elected.
I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
and I love, and by the way, hey, credit to Laura Ingraham here. Let me just, hey, I'm not taking anything away from Laura Ingraham. She pressed the president. She asked the questions and she pressed him. She did her job. So no attack on Ingraham here. Just to be clear. He starts talking about missiles. So I've got Lindsey Graham saying, everything is great. We ran out of bombs. I've got President Trump saying, we need to make more missiles. What is going on? What kind of brain rot do you guys have? What kind of spell are you guys under now by the war cult? This is now the military-industrial complex running this administration. What in the hell is going on?
When you and I were
I'll give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems.
Yeah, so we need to fix our education system then.
They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Now, look, there's obviously an element of truth to what President Trump is saying here, okay? There's obviously an element of truth to this, okay? But it's a red herring in this conversation. Because what's happening is that he bailed out China. What's happening is that he's working on behalf of the big corporations that would rather pay non-Americans a cheaper wage than what Americans would ask for. The American people are being sold out again, folks. And this time it's President Trump doing it. And look, I do fair coverage here. I do full spectrum fair coverage. Trump might have a reason to be doing this. There might be something else down the line that he thinks it's all going to deliver and work out. Okay. And if and when that day comes, I'll report on it. And I'll say, this is what happened. This is how it went down. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is Trump bailing out the universities. This is Trump cutting a deal with the Chinese communists so that they get rid of TikTok so Israel can go on there and take it over and control censorship of it. This is insulting the American people, telling them they're not talented. This is telling the American people, I'm going to be working on behalf of the big corporations and the big donors that would rather pay somebody from a foreign country half of what they would pay you. But here's President Trump in 2016. What changed? Trump seemed to understand this in 2016. So what changed?
Well, first of all, I think, and I know the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
So what happened? Why the change of heart? Why the change of heart? And so now people are reaching the same conclusion that I reached, that I've been saying. One of the worst Trump interviews, and it isn't particularly close. If Vance wins in 2028, he needs to smack, if Vance wants to win in 2028, he needs to smack Trump figuratively before this becomes irreversible and ends up in a quagmire like Bush after 2006. Folks, it's already done. I've already said it. I like J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance would be a strong presidential candidate, but I'm telling you, folks, it's over. At this rate, things can change. We're still in the first quarter. Let's just say it. We'll just say it. But at this rate, nobody from this administration will be electable. Nobody, including J.D. Vance. Not a single person from this administration is going to be electable at this current pace. And that is specifically including J.D. Vance.